Hello, 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 and welcome to the Press Y podcast. We are back, better than ever, getting ready to crush it, getting ready to crush some games, some gaming. We love it. We love it. Right, Gunnar?
So much gaming.
So much
All
gaming,
the
I forgot
gaming.
the count. Yeah,
You forgot to count.
it's a reference to a song, Gunnar. If you knew hip-hop, you would know, you idiot.
Oh yeah. So what are we doing today, Patrick?
We're talking about gaming is what we're doing.
Yeah, but
We've got a few interesting stories, just some stuff. The Switch Lite came out yesterday, but most exciting for me is the release of the Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening, the remake. And oh boy, we are going to gush about that game. We're going to lose it. I'm pissing out my ears.
Deep
It
dive.
is so good.
We're not going to necessarily be reviewing, but we're going to be overviewing and giving our thoughts.
Some impressions. Oh boy.
Yeah.
It's
today, the recording date is Saturday the 21st. So Switch Lite did come out yesterday for us, but we release on Sunday. So just clarification there. But yeah, so
sorry, I'm an idiot.
Yeah, dummy. Yeah, you don't always have to apologize for that. It's just kind of understood. Anyway, we're gonna talk about a couple stories real quick because I really want to jump into Link's Awakening. Actually, I really want to hear your thoughts on it because it's awesome. It's really, really awesome. But this week we're gonna start off. This comes from GamesIndustry.biz. Google Stadia Founders Edition is actually sold out in Europe, and it's actually looking to sell out pretty soon here in the United States. They're thinking this is, of course, the bundle that Google's offering for the new Stadia cloud gaming service. It comes with the 3-month subscription of Stadia Pro and a 3-month pass for a friend, as well as a Chromecast Ultra for those without Roku, and a cool looking controller that connects to your Wi-Fi instead of Bluetooth. But
I was today years old when I found out Stadia spelled backwards is Google.
Oh my God, I didn't even see that. It's just like, dude, that's crazy. That's like subliminal kind of stuff right there.
Mm-hmm. That's why we do this.
Yeah, it's the analysis. We are the analysis.
That deep dive that we were talking about.
It is that deep dive, and the water only gets deper, and the pressure's only going to rise.
Yeah.
But one more thought on the Stadia thing is it's kind of fascinating to see how many people are actually buying into the whole cloud gaming concept, like off the bat. Honestly, like I don't want to be one of the first people on that boat, just because it's probably not going to be all that great to start off, but we'll see going forward. It is $129.
I never want to be the first person on the boat. The only boat I ride is the King of Red Lions. When I talk to him, he goes, "Hey."
Very topical. We'll get to that soon. All right, next. It'll make sense later, guys. So next up, Reggie, our body is Reggie, kind of Reggie, Fils-Aimé, is joining the New York Video Games Critics Circle.
Pronounced Fils-May, but
Phil's anime.
Fils-May with joy.
So, he does. So he's joining the New York Video Game Critics Circle. This, of course, is a group in New York of video game critics, but they're also a group that's known for forms of philanthropy and giving back to local communities to teach about games and technology. And this is coming about 2 weeks after him announcing that he's returning to Cornell, his university, and becoming their very first leader in residence. So, again, just showering Reggie with praise because he's the business leader, or just the leader in general we all strive to be.
I would kiss him on the mouth, probably.
He's a real good. He's a good man. Patrick already mentioned this, but the Switch Lite came out yesterday, Friday the 20th, and as well as Link's Awakening. Also, Untitled Goose Game came out. I really want to play that. Like, I really, really want to play it. I haven't picked it up yet just because I got so much stuff to go through right now. But I watched a couple reviews on it and seen some gameplay, and it looks so just like super, both like charming and hilarious at the same time, but also really fun. But I actually have a buddy of mine picked up the Switch Lite, and he's really liking it so far. He's been playing a lot of Mario Maker on it.
I've heard
he's enjoyed.
Sorry. I've heard good things about it, but some teardowns reveal that it is the same Joy-Con components as the drift-prone ones on the regular Switch.
Uh-oh.
So that is something to look out for. That's coming from Nintendo Life. Just something to potentially be wary of if you're considering picking one up.
Yeah. So actually, I did see a teardown yesterday. I forgot to forgot to put that in our notes. I saw teardown and saw that as well. But it looks like the part is very replaceable, which it that's a good thing, even though it's still, come on guys, like come on Nintendo, what are you doing, Microsoft? Why are you putting crappy parts in your products? So I'm sure within a year we're going to start seeing the whole drifting thing come back up. But it's pretty unfortunate that they didn't correct that issue. But I actually really want a Switch Lite, but I don't have a good reason to spend $200 on it. So I also saw. Did you see this, Patrick? But they made it to where it's not necessarily seamless, but you can use like a primary Switch console and then have like a Switch Lite or vice versa. And so like cloud saves go over
I did see
and
that.
all that. Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
The only Go ahead.
it feels a little strange. Like I can't imagine too many people. Like I can't imagine the market for people who are going to buy both is that big. But I mean, it's good that it's
No,
there. But I mean, it's the point of the Switch is that it's portable. So why would you buy an extra portable version?
exactly. And that also makes me want to think, or makes me think that it's possible we see like the Switch family of systems eventually be a portable Switch and a home console Switch, both with their own benefits. So the mobile being you can play on the go, and then home maybe they offer like a significant upgrade in resolution and graphical features or
Oh, I don't
something.
think they're going back to a non-hybrid console. Not after the success. I don't think they would introduce the Switch and then be like, "Oh, we're doing the Switch U, and it's just a home console." Like that seems strange. But
Or maybe it's a three layer system
yeah,
where you
maybe.
have, you have the top model and then the middle and the bottom. But again, I don't know. I'm just saying this purely based off of the fact that they're encouraging you to buy a Switch Lite
Yeah,
alongside your Switch. But I guess they want more sales regardless. But it's really cool. If I got one, man, I kind of want the blue. Honestly, I think the blue looks pretty cool.
yeah. The blue does look
Gray.
pretty good.
Yeah, gray is just, I don't know. Like my phone's gray. My current Switch. Oh, I guess my Switch is black. But like all the devices I get are always just like dark. So I think something something a little different would be cool. But yeah, that's enough on the Switch Lite. Looks cool. Yay. Apple Arcade just came out. So this released, I think, on Thursday actually. But for the masses, it came out on Friday with iOS 13. Update your phones. Remember, we're not a phone podcast, but phone technology podcast. But we'll mention them every now and then. Write that down in the lore, people. But this is coming via Wired. So it's a $5 a month for like lots of premium games and big developer support. You got people like Sega with Sonic Racing, Bandai Namco, some Pac-Man something or other, and Capcom is actually releasing the new Shantae game on iOS. Actually, I believe it came out on there first. But you have also some smaller developers, a lot of reputable ones as well. Y'all can go check out a list if you want. But the interesting thing about Apple Arcade is it's a premium approach to mobile gaming. Mobile gaming, like for smartphones, not just like 3DS, Switch Lite kind of stuff. But you're not playing freemium games, so you have titles that are like genuinely good titles and high quality. I want to say console level titles. They're dedicated to being games rather than dedicated to being something to just make money with. And so I think that that's really cool that Apple's taking that approach, and I think it's going to be interesting to see how that changes that market. So we'll just kind of see. It's something unique that Apple's doing, and I'm interested to kind of follow this and see where it goes. Any thoughts on that?
No, you pretty much summed it up. I mean, it's I
Yeah,
think it's definitely interesting. I'll check it out.
yeah.
I haven't yet, but I probably will at some point. But it's cool that we're
You
seeing
got
a
any
lot of
games
big
on your
name.
phone?
It's cool that we're seeing some big name developers on it, actually pushing it and making more than just Candy Crush. So I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, definitely a good thing. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much all of my thoughts on that. Yeah, pretty much everything to say, really. Another thing. This is a quick note. So Arkham Trilogy and the Lego Batman Trilogy are free on the Epic Game Store. So go pick that up right now. Unless you're for some reason super adverse to the Epic Games Store. So I actually picked this up the other day. It's funny, my Epic Games Store library just keeps growing and growing just from all the free games that they keep pumping out. Like I don't buy any games on the Epic Game Store. I guess Borderlands 3 is the only one I've even considered of recently. And but I just have so many free games. Like I have Alan Wake, I got Celeste on there, I got Arkham Trilogy, and there's some other ones I'd have to go through there. I think Fez is another one I have. But this is actually a really interesting differentiation strategy from Steam, and it encourages people to get on Epic's platform. So it's kind of cool to see the competition at play there. But that's pretty much all I have to say on that. Just go check it out. Let's see. Speaking of Steam, I'm gonna jump right into that. So Steam was hit by a judicial decision from a French court requiring them to allow the resale of digital games within a month of that decision, or pay a $3,000 euro per day fine for the next 6 months. So this is pretty crazy. So for the longest time, I guess Steam has considered, and this is what they said in their defense, is they've considered themselves a subscription service. So essentially, whenever you buy a game, you're not buying the physical like data for that game. You're buying a subscription, or basically a license to play that game that you can keep indefinitely. So to compare their model to other models, from people like Amazon and Apple, many of those places. So let's take Amazon Video for example. You like if you buy a movie on Amazon Video, you technically own it, so you own it digitally. However, in the terms of service, they actually get to keep the right to like disable your use of that video or modify it in some way. But they also recommend that you create your own backup of it so that this doesn't happen. So Steam is different in this way in that they don't handle their digital properties in a similar manner. And so it's seeming as if the French government wants, not seeming, the French government basically wants Steam to treat digital games in the same vein as physical games. So this would mean you'd be able to resell all your digital copies, which is great for consumers, but at the same time, it's like, what's the cost? So I assume we wouldn't see as many Steam sales, or at least as frequent as Steam sales, or maybe even as drastic as sometimes the prices are reduced, because there'd be such a big secondary market for digital games. So there's that. That'd show up, and also it would really hurt indie developers because, well, I mean, they require people to buy their games. But if someone buys a game just a $15 indie game, finishes it because it's 10 hours or whatever, and they're done with it, then why not just resell it? Then the indie developers are gonna get screwed. So there's a lot of kind of give and take between the consumer side and the actual business side. So we're just gonna have to follow this and see what ends up happening, because this decision, if Valve, which Valve is challenging it, but where was I going with that? Yeah, Valve is challenging it, but if they're if they're not successful in challenging this decision, then it's going to be interesting to see how this spreads throughout the rest of the EU, and if that eventually ever hits America, just to keep consistent policy across the board. But this was something that was just really interesting that I saw yesterday when doing some research. I'd never even considered reselling my digital games.
Yeah, I never even
That
thought
thought,
that that was something that like anyone thought was possible or worthwhile.
yeah, and one of the, I don't really know how this is an argument for digital games should not be able to be resold, is that there's no degradation to it. Like the only degradation is the provider pulling it offline, like Amazon pulling off a video that you purchased or something. So there's no degradation to it, and so a lot of people were claiming that that's one of the reasons why downloaded games should not be able to be resold, is because there's no like physical value to it. But I don't know. Like that doesn't seem like a very good argument. But I can't. I see both sides so well for both the person suing and also Valve's side. So I don't know. I'm just really interested to see how this turns out. But that's pretty much it for news this week. And now for the fun part. And we are skipping our Press Y today because in our overview, review, deep dive, whatever this is, it's pretty much our Press Y, because we're both just like absolutely loving this game. Just absolutely loving this game. So Patrick, all right, you're the Zelda
Oh,
guy. So
baby.
let's do
Oh,
this.
I am the Zelda guy. I'm the Zelda guy, and let me tell you, Link's Awakening, before the remake, was my favorite 2D Zelda, and probably my third favorite Zelda overall, after Breath of the Wild and Wind Waker. This remake, however, oh my god, it is so good. It is so damn good. So, first, you gotta talk about those visuals. We gotta talk about the visuals.
Oh, dude, it's so
It,
good.
it looks fantastic. I was a little hesitant about the art style when they announced it in February, but I've kind of come around on it more and more. But now that I'm actually playing the game, it is unreal. I always thought it looked good, but I was worried it wouldn't fit the tone of the game. But oh boy, it does. Because, spoiler alert, it's a 25-year-old game, but, the whole point is that it's a very dreamlike environment, and this fits that so well.
Wait, but why is it a dreamlike environment?
Oh, because the windfish is sleeping and you're living inside his dream. Oh,
Oh,
um,
Patrick, I haven't finished the game. I wasn't supposed to know that.
oh, never mind. I was lying. But I remember telling Gunnar this in February. I said, I think the art style will work as long as the dungeons have an atmosphere that is very tense and very nightmarish. And they do. Oh my god, they do. They increased the size of the overworld, or not the size of the overworld, I'm sorry, but the amount visible per screen.
The
Obviously,
aspect
yeah, the aspect
ratio.
ratio because it's 16 by 9. But the
Yeah.
dungeons, the rooms, you can't alter the rooms that way because they were designed to be in the whatever it is, the 2 by 2 Game Boy
They're
display.
like they're like just like screen
Yeah,
tiles
screen
basically.
tiles. But
Yeah.
the border around it is unbelievably like I don't even know what the word is. It's not eye catching because it's just the border, but it's very supplemental to creating a tense tone, I guess I would say.
Like there's subtle designs
Yes.
in the border.
And
Yeah, I noticed that as
it
well.
is so good. The dungeons are fantastic. It's some of my favorite dungeons in all of Zelda, but some people disagree. I mean, there are some that are bad. But the soundtrack, oh my god. So obviously it was one of the best soundtracks of any game ever on the Game Boy with 8-bit chiptune. But they've redone all the music, mostly orchestrated with some Game Boy samples. And Zooey Mama, it is so good. It is so good. There's some weird sampling. Taryn, who is supposed to be based off Mario, I think they used voice clips from Charles Martinet. I'm not sure. Um,
Kind of sounds
it
like
definitely
it.
sounds like it. I doubt they
Yeah,
had him
it could
come
be
in. I
anybody,
doubt they had
but
him come in and record. But like, I think they may have had some just left over from New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe DX Director's Cut for Nintendo Switch Lite Plus.
and
Um,
with how faithful all the references are to Mario
yeah.
and how well they fit into the world too, I wouldn't be
So
surprised.
I think it might be Charles Martinet because you hear him go Yahoo like one time, and he goes yeah wahoo I miss my wife, you know. Um, but
When will she come home?
Also, Dompe, I think I don't know for sure, but I think they used the sample of the King of Red Lions from Wind Waker. If you've played Wind Waker, you'll know when you're in the dungeon and you have the little magical stone, and the King of Red Lions, your boat, wants to talk to you. He goes, "Hey," and Dompe says it almost exactly the same. I'm not sure; it might be a coincidence, but I just thought that was funny. Just a fun little bit, a good one. Um, the gameplay, obviously.
Well, can I make some comments about the visuals as
You know
well?
what? I guess you can. Sure.
Thank you. So absolutely love it. So unlike Patrick, from as soon as they showed off the trailer, I fell in love with the art style. Well, yeah, obviously because it's a dream, and I think it exemplifies the dream aspect of the game, but also the fact that it kind of looks like the Rudolph movies or
It does. It does. It
those
has a
kind of the
very
Christmas movies, and I
Christmassy.
love those
It was
movies.
like it has a very like early 20th century like tin toy vibe,
Yes,
which is exactly what a lot of those Christmas cartoons from the 70s have.
yes, and also I don't know if you noticed this, but every material in the game, or at least almost every material, has like a glossy
Hmm.
reflectiveness to it. It just exemplifying it is very dreamy. It's
Actually, now that you
very
mention it,
toy
the
esque.
game just kind of has a Christmassy feel to it. When you go into Animal Village and it's the little tune, that's pretty Christmassy.
I've heard the tune. I actually haven't gotten to Animal Village yet,
Um,
so I just for the just
well,
so the audience can
oh,
know that I'm still
oh,
not a complete fake
okay,
fan.
casual.
I've played I've played Link's Awakening, the Game Boy version, not the DX version. I played about 60% of it, and then put it down and didn't finish it. So I'm actually enjoying this a lot better because there's more visual cues. I should have played the DX version to begin with, just because there's more visual cues, and I was just getting frustrated because I'm not that great of a gamer unless it's Smash Bros. But yeah, so that's all I had to really say on the visuals. Unlike other than like frame rate and stuff, which I'll get to
Yeah.
later.
Um,
But talk about that soundtrack.
but well, I finished with the soundtrack. I was going
Oh,
to
well, yeah, soundtrack. I'm sorry, gameplay
But
fixes.
the gameplay, obviously, a big issue that everyone had with the original was the item management. Because you only have two buttons, you're constantly in the pause menu switching them out. That's been fixed. Obviously, the Switch has four face buttons and the bumpers and the triggers. Um, and they use,
Hey Patrick.
yeah.
Hey
Hey, what?
Patrick. Hey. Do you see that rock? It looks pretty heavy. I don't know if you can lift that right now.
You should probably think before you talk.
That's yeah.
Yeah, you should
They
probably
fixed that. They
apologize. You
fixed
should probably
that.
apologize.
That's a gameplay fix. They
Yeah.
fixed
So
that.
I
I'm
know
not
what
gonna
you're talking about.
apologize.
But
Yeah.
the power bracelet is no longer an item, so it's context sensitive. You have the Pegasus boots automatically mapped to a button. Same with the shield, and you don't have to equip and unequip your shield and sword, which is fantastic. The one issue with it, there's just one little baby issue. The frame rate isn't great. It runs at 60, but in the original, when the screen would transition, wherever those points are, there's a pretty noticeable frame rate drop, which is interesting because it's seamless in the overworld now. There's no screen transition, but it drops from 60, like a perfect 60, to probably like low 30s, high 20s.
It's no it so what the system is doing, it's on a double buffered vsync. So vsync is when whatever game or application you're running matches the refresh rate of the monitor that you're playing it on. So like a full refresh rate for a 60 hertz monitor would be 60 FPS. So in this case, since it's a double buffered vsync, it's refreshing at 30 frames a second. And the reason why they lock it to 30 in that those small moments that you're talking about is because if it was unlocked, there'd probably be screen tearing, which is basically where frames misalign on screen, and so there's like this. It looks like the screen is tearing. It is what it sounds like. So actually, I watched some analysis on like why the frame rate is dipping, and no one knows specifically why, but there's some good guesses. And one of them, I think Digital Foundry covered this, is per scene. So so say you walk into a house, it'll drop down to 30 because it's calculating. It looks like it's calculating the lighting for the scene as well as, excuse me, it's calculating the lighting for the scene as well as streaming in assets. And so whenever you walk out of a house, the drop will be more pronounced and it'll last a bit longer because it's streaming in all that new lighting and all those new assets. Or say you go from you transition from like the mysterious forest to tall heights. So there's like one little ladder section you can climb up in. The frame rate will dip, even though you moved like a couple of inches in the game just going up. The frame rate will dip still because it calculates the lighting based off of tall heights, and so it's more warm rather than more cool like Mysterious Forest is. So that's one of the reasons why. So some people are saying it can be patched out, but honestly, I don't know. It just kind of depends on how the programmers did the game. But I don't know. I'm not an expert.
I mean, it's not a huge
But
issue. Let's not get.
no,
It's noticeable,
it's like
but it's not a real issue. It's just the kind of thing you're gonna be like, this is kind of annoying, but not a big deal.
the only time it seems to have affected gameplay. So I actually like I just got my copy today just because it got late in the mail. But getting to the bottle grotto, walking through the swamp was a little
Yeah,
jarring.
yeah. Going
Yeah,
through that
that's
swamp
the
is
only place.
pretty nasty. But other than that, I'm probably halfway through the game, and other than that, there's been nothing.
Yeah, so it's awesome. Like, I mean, Patrick's pretty much already said everything. It's an awesome game. I think they've fixed a lot of issues the first game had. Again, like all those messages popping up, item management is completely fixed. Thank God, because that was another thing that frustrated me playing a Game Boy version. Is you're constantly pressing the start button and going into your menu to swap items and all that. And yeah, obviously, it's like necessary because the Game Boy, two buttons really to work with. But at the same time, it's like it really it's a good fix to the experience, and it may take away some slight challenge, but really that's just artificial challenge in the Game Boy version. But do you have any other thoughts?
I do not. I've covered everything I want to.
Yeah, but I mean, we don't even need to review Link's Awakening. It is Link's Awakening, and that's one of the cool things too. Is it's so faithful to the original,
Yeah.
just modernized and made new.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that is pretty much it for this week on the Press Y podcast. Unless Patrick, you have something else you want to say?
Never.
And God, man, you're just amazing. All right, cool. Thank you guys so much. Sorry, this week's episode is just a little bit shorter, but we really wanted to cover our thoughts on Link's Awakening, and I think this was a perfect amount of time to do so. I hope you guys have a great week. Remember to like, subscribe, press that like button, or the bell. Yeah, the bell, that one. All right, follow us on Twitter, all that fun stuff. Share with your friends because, well, hopefully you have friends. All right, see you guys. Bye.